Hello everyone, my name is Stuart Teicher and welcome to the Lawyer Survival Center. Today we're going to be talking about 5 keys to attracting clients online. Now, I want you to know that this is part of a larger program that I do. I go to various states and I give a CLE program called a collaborative business development clinic. In that program, I teach about business development, but at the same time, it's collaborative where others can bring their stories and we can share and learn together. So this is the sort of thing I talk about in that program, but today we're going to talk about the 5 keys to attracting clients online. Now, I want you to understand something as you get started. It's going to appear that some of these issues are a little bit counterintuitive, you know? And the reason I say that is because I'm going to be telling you to give away information for free. That's okay. People are scouring the internet, potential clients are looking for information, and they want it for free, at least at the outset. And you gotta give it to them to be able to attract them. But I think ultimately it's gonna turn into money in your pocket, and that's really what you want. So the first thing is to provide free, valuable content. People are out there looking, potential clients are out there looking for information. They're scouring the internet, they're looking at YouTube for free information because they want to understand the situation that they're in. Sometimes they want to do it themselves. We'll talk about the DIY movement in a few minutes. But at least at the outset, all they want to do is educate themselves so they know what they're up against. Very often what will happen is that people respond to the person who is giving them that free, valuable content. They'll call the place that provides that information because it establishes a sense of credibility on the part of the content deliverer. Be that content deliverer. Be that person who delivers that content so that someone who sees it, understands it, can then patronize your services. Now, how does one provide that content? How do you create the videos and what equipment do you use? Well, that's the sort of thing that I talk about in my business development collaborative clinic, and maybe I'll post something about it in the future, but for right now, I just want to give you these 5 keys. So the first is to provide free, valuable content. Now, the interesting thing that you got to remember when you do that free, valuable content is that it's got to be consistent with your branding. Now, you've heard people talk about branding and mission statements and all that stuff, and when you talk about that in a vacuum, it's very easily just garbage. You know, it's fluff. I mean, you write a mission statement and what good is it that it's on a piece of paper? But when you start to understand that the content you provide online needs to be consistent with your brand, that's the way you take the theoretical and you turn it into execution. The content that you provide online, the free content you provide to people, has to be consistent with the brand that you've established. Branding, I talk about that more in the program. Now, the next item is going to be difficult for you because you need to resist. Hashtag resist. That's like all the rage now, isn't it? I'm not talking politics. You need to resist the temptation to promote yourself. And in fact, when you provide this free, valuable content, you don't want to make it as an outward sales effort. It really has to be an authentic opportunity to provide content to your potential customers. That's a very important part of attracting clients online, providing free, valuable content in an authentic way, not using it as an opportunity to promote yourself. This isn't about sales at this point. It's about getting the content into the hands of the people who could potentially hire you. Give them this content in an authentic kind of way. Now, you're going to need to ask yourself a couple of questions, right? What is my brand? What is my expertise? What am I good at? What do I know? What do I know better than anyone else? These are the things that you need to ask yourself before you even develop this content. Got to be consistent with your brand, got to be consistent with your expertise. Now, not only do you want to provide content, but you want people to remember you. So you've got to, of course, be memorable. One of the ways that you can be memorable is by having a point, taking a stand, take some sort of position. Oh, and by the way, whatever you stand for, it's got to be consistent with your brand. You see that thread? Argue some position and do so boldly and loudly. I don't mean actually scream, I know. Coming from a guy who's basically screaming at you the entire time. Ironic, no? Yeah, I understand. I can't help it. But you can. It doesn't mean you have to do it actually volume loudly, but be strong, be assertive, be bold, take a position. That's how you can become memorable. And I'll tell you the truth, if you create a little bit of controversy, it's not the worst thing in the world. Just remember to be ethical about it. And don't go off the deep end like some extreme lunatic. I know that's like the big thing these days, but just stay away from extreme positions. You don't need to go far off into extreme land in order to take a bold position on some topic. It's a tough balance, I know, but you're a professional, you could figure it out. The fourth item is very related to that first one, and that is to enable the DIY approach, to enable the do-it-yourself approach. People out there want to do things on their own. They want to try and do it without a lawyer. They don't want to have to pay, all that kind of stuff. And if you look at ethics approaches these days when it comes to access to justice, that's a very big part of the ethics world. We're trying to enable people to do things on their own, to eliminate barriers to entry, to allow them to be pro se litigants if they want to be. My feeling about that is, and this is really where the counterintuitive part comes in, is don't just give them the free valuable content, but give them the instruction about how they can actually do it themselves. I think that they will still come to you for that work. Those who don't probably couldn't afford to pay your bill anyway. But those who may give it some thought, they give it a little bit of shot, they take a look at it, and then they realize, you want to know something, I'm better off not doing this than myself, then they're going to come to you. But in an authentic way, enable that DIY type of mentality, because that's what the client wants, and that's what's going to create that connection. It's all about creating that connection between you and the potential client. I really believe that even if you give them the information that will allow them to do it themselves, ultimately they will still come to you. And the final thing is talk about something that has nothing to do with your practice. I like art and I go to museums all the time. Every once in a while I post something about a particular show that I've seen. I like trains and train stations. I don't know why, I just do. Okay? I'm like Sheldon, I guess, to a certain extent from the Big Bang Theory. But I mean, I like that sort of thing. So sometimes I post pictures of different train stations that I go to. I like to travel, and sometimes I post funny videos from the road. But what happens is I end up getting a following. I end up getting a little bit of an audience, and they're attracted to the sorts of things that I do, and they look out for the things that I do. I put funny posts on Facebook, like about how many people put their behinds in my face all the time. People follow that sort of thing. If you're able to post things that have nothing to do with your practice sometimes, you still might create that connection with an audience, and that's what it's all about. So provide free, valuable content. Do it in an authentic kind of way. Don't try to promote yourself. Be memorable. Take some sort of position. Enable the DIY mentality among your audience. And sometimes try to post things that have no relationship whatsoever with your practice. Those are the types of steps you can take that will attract people to you online, and eventually they'll turn into clients. Now, I understand that you have to have a little bit of faith, because it's not like you can put the video out and they turn around and just go ahead and call you. It doesn't always happen that way. You've got to develop a following, you've got to develop a relationship with people. And there's a step-by-step approach to get you started in that regard. Now, like I said, this is a small part of what I talk about in my collaborative business development clinic. If you want to go ahead and attend, just take a look at the link below. You can find where I'm going to be over the next, couple of months, and I hope to see you there.